Hey, MCE crew, you know how I'm always telling you about how the design is to create a dependent society by and large, to take what we now know of as the middle class and transfer most of that into the dependent class. Why? For money and power, for elite politicians and wealthy, uber wealthy individuals who have it in their mind that they know what's best for society and they want to absorb more and more authority over you. And look, this isn't anything new. If you read the book Titan, it's around here somewhere. It's a really thick book. It's the biography of John D. Rockefeller. If you look into that book, you'll see where Americans who have been extremely wealthy have always thought that way. To say nothing of, British or French officials back in the day who demonstrated that same type of mindset that they wanted to control you. Well, America's, in my, actually, I'll say my least favorite billionaire, Charlie Munger, who's Warren Buffett's partner, and I'll tell you why I don't like Munger in a second. But he typifies this whole attitude of, I've got more money than you, so therefore I can make decisions and experiment with you in order to establish designs that I have in my head about how the world should work. So we've got architect Resigns in protest over University of California at Santa Barbara megadorm. The architect criticizes Charlie Munger and Munger Hall as a social and psychological experiment with unknown consequences. So what's all the fuss? Well, as we go through this, I think you're going to get the same impression that I have, that Munger Hall, to be set up at the University of California, Santa Barbara, is an experiment to see how compressed dystopian living will, how it will work, okay? This is probably going to be a complete psychological disaster for the students that have to stay in this hall, and we probably won't see it fully play out until years after they've graduated. But when I first went through this thing, man, it reminded me of, do you remember The Fifth Element, the movie? Do you remember that apartment that Bruce Willis was living in? It was just the most depressing place. And this is kind of reminding me of that. But I want you to pay attention to this because this is the type of thing that I want to demonstrate this to you because you can rest assured this will be what part of the dependent class living conditions actually look like. It's not going to be pretty. This is why you need to be financially independent. Get yourself a little plot of land off somewhere, 20 miles away from the nearest small town, if you can hack that. Otherwise, the projects are going back up, okay? We had our projects here in Baltimore imploded many years ago, but Munger Hall seems like we're headed back in that direction. A consulting architect on the University of California, Santa Barbara's Design Review Committee has quit his post in protest over the university's proposed Munger Hall project, calling the massive, mostly windowless dormitory plain, quote, unsupportable from my perspective as an architect, a parent, and a human being, unquote. Now, let me tell you a little bit about my view of Charlie Munger. The latest thing he said that really proves that he's one of these Spectre villains out of a James Bond movie was remarks he made about Jack Ma and the Chinese Communist Party. Jack Ma, as we know, we haven't seen him since he said some things and really pissed off the Chinese communists. And who knows if he's alive or dead. Anyway, Munger said, yeah, I'm glad they did that. Slapped him down. They should have. And he went on to say he wishes that kind of heavy-handed authoritarianism could be applied here in America. Okay? So this tells you all you need to know about this individual. A very authoritarian individual who believes that, again, because he has money, he's better than you and I. And look, his partner Warren Buffett may be the same way. I don't know. But Warren Buffett at least does a better job of hiding that nature if he is in possession of it. In his October 25th resignation letter to UCSB campus architect Julie Hendricks, Dennis McFadden, a well-respected Southern California architect with 15 years on the committee, goes scorched earth on the radical new building concept. Check this out, which calls for an 11-story, 1.6 million square foot structure that would house up to 4,500 students, 94% of whom would not have windows in their small, single occupancy bedrooms. Another movie this reminds me of is 1984, where they all lived in that very depressing apartment block. It was just a concrete structure, all gray, very little natural light coming in. The idea was conceived by 97-year-old billionaire investor turned amateur architect Charles Munger, who donated $200 million toward the project with the condition that his blueprints be followed exactly. And this guy's an investor. He's not an architect, but he wants his vision established. Munger maintains the small living quarters would coax students out of their rooms and into larger common areas where they could interact and collaborate. He also argues that off-site prefabrication of standardized building elements, the 9 residential levels feature identical floor plans, would save on construction costs. This sounds straight out of the Soviet bloc, okay? This is their whole, this isn't anything revolutionary. This is what the Soviets and the Eastern Bloc countries used to, this is how they designed their apartment buildings. Okay, these mass structures. I think you can hear my dog. He's very upset about this. This is what they did back then. The entire proposal, which comes as UCSB desperately attempts to add to its overstretched housing stock, is budgeted somewhere in the range of $1.5 billion. Chancellor Henry Yang has hailed it as inspired and revolutionary. They should make Yang live in it for a year. And he'd lose his mind. Of course he's going to say that because he's just a lapdog for the money coming in. That's what, his role is. So this is, I want you to go on, I've, of course, linked to this. I want you to go on and take a look at this and see what kind of little bubble-like, living conditions they're setting up. McFadden disagreed sharply with what the university president has described as Charlie's vision. Charlie's vision makes him sound like just a good old grandfatherly type of guy with your best interest at heart. Charlie Munger's vision for the benefits of a close-knit living experience. I wonder what kind of living experience old Charlie Munger is enjoying. Does he live in a small box which forces him out into communion with his other billionaire friends? Who knows? Quote, an ample body of documented evidence shows that interior environments with access to natural light, air, and views to nature improve both physical and mental well-being of occupants. The Munger Hall design ignores this evidence and seems to take the position that it doesn't matter. So, again, this is going to have some effects on folks. They've got this little light. You'll see it in the article. Please read it. That is supposed to simulate daylight, kind of like on a ship when you have an interior cabin. I love interior cabins on ships. When I used to go on cruises, doesn't seem like I'm going to be going on those anymore for reasons you probably can imagine. But I like the inside cabin because it's dark. When you shut the lights off, it's extremely dark. So, in any event, I won't go on any longer. I need you to read this. Wait until you see I'm going to put this up on screen right now. Look at that. It's like you're just warehoused, human warehouses, okay? But this is what they have in mind for the dependent class. Make sure you're not a part of that class. Buy assets. Okay, guys, I'll talk to you soon.